Let's start with a really simple but powerful idea. To understand a huge mistake that so many people make in the financial markets, we actually need to talk about cricket for a second. Yeah, cricket. Specifically, what happens when you're completely outmatched and you don't even know it.
Just picture it. You're standing there, and Jasprit Bumrah is about to bowl a 150-kilometer-per-hour scorcher. And what's in your hands? A plastic toy bat. It's not just a mismatch, right? It's a complete disaster waiting to happen. Well, what if I told you that this exact same scenario plays out every single day? Not on a cricket pitch, but in the stock market.
And there it is. The cricket pitch is the derivatives market, and that plastic bat, well, that's the set of tools most retail traders are bringing to the fight. Every single day, thousands of people are stepping up to the plate, totally unprepared for the professional level game they've just walked into. So let's call this exactly what it is: the plastic bat problem. It's this whole issue of being fundamentally under-equipped, totally outmatched. Basically, you're set up to lose the game before you've even made your first move. Because here's who's on the other side of the field. You're not just up against other individual traders. You're facing massive institutions, the real pros. These guys have the best tech, mountains of data, and entire teams of experts who live and breathe this stuff. They've absolutely mastered the game. It's David versus Goliath, but David showed up without his slingshot. So what's the real-world result of this epic mismatch? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering, and they point to a huge misunderstanding about why so many people fail at this. 94%. According to the source material, that's the percentage of retail traders who lose money. Just let that sink in. For every 10 people who give it a shot, more than 9 of them fail. But the most important question isn't that they fail, it's why they fail. And here is the absolute key insight. This failure has nothing to do with how smart you are. You could be a genius and still lose your shirt in the market. The problem isn't intelligence, it's a lack of training. It's about being trained to see the real game that's being played, not just the simple version you see on your screen. This really shows the two different mindsets perfectly. The plastic bat approach, over on the left, is all reactive. You're just chasing prices after they've already moved. But the professional approach, on the right, that's proactive. It's about looking at the market structure to figure out why a price is likely to move, before it ever does. Okay, so how do you actually make that jump from being reactive to proactive? Well, it all starts with learning to look past the price chart itself and starting to see the invisible forces that are actually pushing the market around. This is the core idea. Just watching price candles go up and down is like watching the scoreboard of a game without ever seeing the players on the field. Sure, you see the result, but you have no idea why it happened or what's likely to happen next. So the first pro tool is something called order flow. Think of it like a thermal vision camera for the market. While the price chart just shows you where the ball landed, order flow shows you the intensity of every single move along the way. It literally reveals who's in control, the big institutions or the retail crowd, by showing you exactly where the big money is being thrown around. And the second tool is market profile. Now, if order flow is the thermal camera, market profile is the blueprint of the entire building. It takes all that trading data and organizes it over time to show you the market's structure, the zones where the market has accepted a price, and, just as importantly, the zones it has rejected. This is how you start to understand the game plan, not just the individual plays. And when you combine these tools, the source says that a really fundamental shift starts to happen. You stop being a follower, chasing every little price jump, and you start to become a leader. You're not guessing anymore. You're anticipating what the market might do based on its structure and the intent you're seeing. And you can really see the shift in what people say. Take Mukesh here. He says he was blindly following price, but now he can spot when the big institutions are making their move. But notice the most important part, and more importantly, when to stay out. That's a professional mindset right there. Sometimes the best trade is no trade at all. And then there's Rishab. He calls it the missing link. That's that idea of market structure we just talked about. He finally understood why his trades were failing at the same spots over and over. Suddenly, a frustrating loss isn't just a loss anymore. It's a valuable data. This one from Arnab really hits home, though. It highlights the real cost of learning these lessons the hard way. Burning through lakhs, which is hundreds of thousands of rupees. This isn't just about making money.
It's about avoiding those catastrophic and often predictable losses that come from using the wrong tools for the job. All right, so if we're going to ditch the plastic bat and pick up a pro-level one, what does that new toolkit actually contain? Let's break down the essentials. A professional toolkit, at least according to our source, isn't just a random collection of tips and tricks. It's a whole system, and it's built on two pillars: mastering market structure and reading the institutional order flow. The whole goal is to shift your process away from reacting emotionally to price candles and towards building a logical, evidence-based case for every single trade before you ever put your capital at risk. And, becoming truly trained, not just book smart, takes real time and practice. So the source makes a point that this kind of professional development has to be flexible. It has to let you learn at your own speed so you can really absorb these pretty complex ideas. And so that brings us to the final, most important question. It really boils everything we've talked about down to this one thing. When you look at a chart, are you just seeing the price, or are you seeing the forces behind the price? Because in a stadium full of pros, what you can't see is often the very thing that makes all the difference.